Will Smith, how did you get connected with him early on, and what was involved with managing his early career?
Well, Will Smith's a good story because it had everything to do with how we built Def Jam and everything else. Although people say, oh, those are tough guys, those rappers, it was not about them being tough. It's about them being honest. Authenticity is everything, again. So Will Smith, he hates when I tell this story.
Why?
Because I'm going to tell it, you'll see. I mean, you know, because he's got muscles, he's Will Smith. Will Smith will knock you out. I shouldn't say that in light of his most recent thing, but in general, Will Smith is, you know, a strong guy and tough enough to protect anyone. He had a song that starts out, my eye. He said, what happened? He got punched in the eye. And if you're from the hood, and the guy is 2 feet tall or 100 or a giant, he punch you in the eye, you got to assess whether you're ready to shoot him if he's a certain guy, right? So I think he got punched in the eye by somebody from the hood over a girl. His line was, I'm going to hold my eye. It was very funny, and it was honest. And honesty was I always looked for.
Why'd Will write you a $250,000 check?
Because he's a really, really sweet man. He left me, I had a deal at Fox, and he went to NBC. And we didn't know he was negotiating, we didn't know anything. So he left. We had no contract. He said, I'm gonna have to leave, you know, management and staying over here. And here's $250,000. Can you be more, I mean, to us, that was a lot of money.
Right.
My partner said, you know, he was working in the management company daily. He said that wasn't enough. But back then he knew it was a lot. And, you know, it was very generous of him and gracious and good of him to do that. I saw Will say recently we had a contract, but we were never ones to enforce contracts for management. He wanted to take a different path. And so he said he bought me out. He didn't buy me out. I let him out of the contract and he gave me the money. And that's what happened. And I'm sure James Lasseter and Will, if they would revisit it, would know that there was never a bond. He might have felt he had a contract. Some lawyer might have told him he had a contract. But our relationship with him was based on us going to work every day and enjoying the work. And so when he left, and he gave me the money.
I want to run through some other people played roles at various points of your life. The first one being Rick Rubin. How about the role you think each of you played in one another's lives?
The way I met Rick Rubin, in my recollection of first recognizing him, I heard a record on the radio, commentating, illustrating, description, giving, adjective, expert, analyzing it. People of the universe, this is yours. Most amazing record, like, oh, and I called up the radio because almost every record on the radio was something I managed. I had all the hot records on the radio. Here's this record. I call up Red Alert or Jazzy J. And Jazzy J, who played the record, introduced me to Rick Rubin. So I'm at Dance Interior, and he brings me Rick Rubin. I say, where's the guy who made It's Yours? It's him. And Rick took me to his dorm at NYU and played me all these beats. And back then, we were so beat-oriented. We were B-boys, and beats were everything. And Rick had a turntable full of beats. I mean, a drum machine full of beats. And a real, you know, real good feel. I could tell from the first day. And so I was on the way to make a record deal. I had Rush Productions, I had all these successes. And Rick comes along and says, we want to start a record company. And I put, you know, $2,500, if I'm not mistaken, in. And we put out the first LL Cool J record, I Need a Beat. And that began, and I abandoned the idea of making Rush records, and Def Jam became it. It was his logo at the time.
What did working with Brian Grazer entail for you?
Brian Grazer gave me the opportunity to produce a mainstream movie. It was my idea to do Nutty Professor. I was going to do it with Martin Lawrence. I wanted to do it for about $10 million or whatever. And he said, no, let's do it with Eddie Murphy. And I met with Eddie, and who I knew, and that, it started there. But anyway, Brian, I didn't realize it. I was riding around in a go-kart, doing what producers do, right? And the guy from BET was interviewing me. He said, no African-American rides around in a go-kart and is producing mainstream movies, period. I mean, you could be a singer, or, you know, or you could be Eddie Murphy maybe and get a credit. as an actor, invaluable piece. But just to ride around in the go-kart, just to orchestrate, to help to read the script and rewrite the script, to help to choose a director, to help to do the branding, the marketing, to oversee the soundtrack, to be the producer. There's no black people at all. And Brian Grazian didn't realize it, or maybe he did, but he enabled me, and I'll never, be thankful enough for what he did for me for Nutty Professor 1 and paid me for Nutty Professor 2.
Tommy Hilfiger. What do you think happened where it didn't work out in terms of folding your kind of clothing or fashion business into his company? Because there was talks of that at one
we
point,
talked
right?
a lot. Tommy was such a great help to me and a mentor to me in fashion. And he really wanted to do something where we partnered. But, when you have a company the size of his, you don't want to lose. If you're going from 600 million one day, the next week you look at the projections, they're 720. You can't look at a company that takes so much work to get to 10. And so his heart was there. Lawrence Stroll and some of his partners' heart wasn't there. But he did so much for me. He helped me with distribution. He helped me with find sourcing and producing the products. He gave me so much. To this day, even now, Tommy Hilfiger is using my daughter as a model and really mentoring her. So I can never be thankful enough for his presence in my life. It's been a great ride. He is a great friend.